Well, we thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria up to this moment. Eye on Russia-Ukraine war and the psychological impact is our first topic this morning. Oyemi Ajayi is with the background report as a prompt for our conversation.
For more than a month, the Ukraine-Russia crisis has persisted. More than 3 million people have been made refugees as they flee the war zone, Ukraine. Thanks to the humanitarian corridor provision, many foreign nationals and several Nigerians who sought Ukraine as a greener pasture are returning home in their numbers. These include Nigerian students studying in Ukraine who have been evacuated to Nigeria. Record has it that Africa countries have the most students in Ukraine. Morocco has 8,000 students, Nigeria 4,000, and Egypt 3,500. Since their return, many are still yet to come to terms with the reality of matters. Some are so traumatized over seeing property and many facilities destroyed, loss of lives, families separated, investments gone, with many asking themselves how to start all over again. Sadly, the recent reported death of 22-year-old Huzaifa Mudashi from Sokoto State and a medical student has generated a lot of reactions on the plight of psychological encumbrances unleashed on many caught in the Russia-Ukraine impasse. Mudashi is said to have died 2 weeks after returning from Ukraine. Several students and many others are still yet to come out of the trauma of the war as they recall the horrific experience they went through due to a series of events that happened before their very eyes. Though the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission (NIDCOM) says it is making plans with the American Society of Safety Professionals and diaspora bodies worldwide to offer post-traumatic therapy for the evacuees to help counsel the young students who are mostly traumatized. Other concerns will be how to further and complete their education. This is a big question still hanging in the balance. Many are already reapplying with some other foreign schools, while it is start all over for those in their final year in Ukraine. Now, that could be turned traumatizing. As much as many have escaped the war zone, there are still some Nigerians stuck in the southern city of Kherson area of Ukraine, crying for help to be evacuated. What is the efforts of the Nigerian government in ensuring that those still stuck in this region of Ukraine are effectively evacuated? How vital is the post-traumatic therapy at this point in time? What efforts are there in ensuring that these returning students complete their education? These are some questions guests already seated will be answering shortly.
Thank you very much, Oyemi Ajayi, for that backgrounder. We have three guests with us in the studios this morning. Let's welcome Ambassador Bolaji Akinremi. He's Director, Consular and Legal in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ambassador Akinremi, pleasure to have you back again in our studios.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right.
And we also have here in our studio a clinical psychologist, NAME Foundation, Chinyerugo Onyekwere.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Honorable Abdulrahman Terab is another guest here with us. He's of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Honorable Abdulrahman, pleasure to have you this morning.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Okay. Let's begin the conversation with Ambassador Bolaji Akinremi. Tell us, what is the state of the evacuation of Nigerians from Ukraine, those at least who found their way into the neighboring countries, whether in Russia, Poland, Hungary, or elsewhere?
Yeah, thank you so much for all you've done to publicize the effort of government. And we continue to commend President Muhammadu Buhari for the approval and all the people who have participated, from Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and his colleague, Ajia Sadia, Farouk. Now, we've done so much on evacuation, and it seems the first phase has just successfully been concluded. The first phase ended with the humanitarian corridor provided to have access to Sumi. That was a very naughty area. And as at now, we have, about 2,000 Nigerians that we have brought on flight, and over 1,000 that have come by themselves. So if we take all this together, we probably have over 3,000 Nigerian students that have returned. We have, according to our statistics, about 250 families that were not students that have also returned on different flights from this evacuation. So we can say that we have successfully brought to a close the first round. We're waiting for Kherson to be open, the humanitarian corridor there, so that we can now have access. But everything will depend on the next step by Ukraine and Russia, because the war is still on, and it depends on what happened there. Our assessment is that we still have a lot of Nigerians who are still within Ukraine, and some of them felt they have invested so much in that society and they are not moving. In the surrounding countries, we also have great number of students who have not left countries of their solace, I would say. For now, we have over 300 in Romania, more than that in Hungary, and slightly below that in Poland. A lot have moved to Germany now. Some of them are in Czechs, and a lot are still in Slovakia. At the beginning of this, Slovakia had 1,119. Poland has 2,255. And we have that number all over. So we think probably we have about 12,000 Nigerians in Ukraine. And these numbers eventually might have to come if the war persists.
Now, are you saying that those of them who are still in Ukraine are there based on the fact that they feel like staying back based on their investment in Ukraine, or are there Nigerians who would wish to return from Ukraine that have not been able to do that?
Apart from those who are still in Kherson in the southern Ukraine, there is no Nigerian that have indicated that they want to be evacuated that has not been. And as a matter of fact, we are even encouraging them to leave. As at the last time when we came here, I told you the story of the frog that is in water, and the water was just boiling, and it felt comfortable until it became hot. And I did advise at that time that it was the best time for people to leave. Now we seem to have a law. It seems to be things are cooling down, but we never know the intention of these two gladiators. So if eventually they resume into shelling, then it might get hotter, and then they may want to leave. And so there is no Nigerian as of today that are either in the neighboring countries or even in Ukraine, because our mission is still working, our embassy, they're still working, yes. They moved to a neighboring city and they are working from there. Their site is very active and people are getting counsel and being advised. The ambassador is reaching out to the student community and their leaders. Nigerian citizens are reaching out to him and they are being guided on what to do. So there is no single Nigerian today that want to leave and that Nigeria has not taken care of him or her.
Well, I mean, you've virtually spoken on some of the very critical issues that would bother anyone. I recall that we had you from the airport when one of the set of Nigerians were to be evacuated. We'd like to appreciate you for the time you spent with us. And it's also instructive, as you say, that the Nigerian mission is still operating in Ukraine. We hope that it is well with them, because we all heard about the siege that the Russians had laid to Kyiv, which is the capital. We don't know what the situation is with regard to shelling, or whether they have moved in, or whether they have sufficiently taken out the defense systems of Ukraine. What do we know about those Nigerians?
Well, the embassy is not at its official location. It's moved to, I said, a neighboring state.
City.
Yes. And what they have done is to move away from the capital. and actually based in Hungary, but not in the main city. So they share border. Okay. And so they are able to oversee what goes on in Ukraine, and they are in close contact with the officials of Ukraine. They also have local staff who are monitoring things and reporting to our officials. Now we have that embassy has concurrent accreditation to 5 other countries, Lithuania, Georgia, and the rest of them, Estonia. So they still oversee all of this, and they can operate from any of these countries.
Sumi was also a touchy one, because I recall when we had your good self ambassador and the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you did say that a humanitarian corridor was required because Sumi was part of the, if you like, the access route for the Russians to shell or bombard Ukraine. And there was a video that came out of students, Nigerian students who were stranded in Sumi. They had been without water for a number of days, and they said they were then warming up ice in order to have water. Have all Nigerian students, if we may ask, all Nigerian students who were stranded in Sumi, they were supposed to, it borders Russia, I believe. Have they now been all evacuated from Sumi?
Sumi, as of today, is totally liberated. I mean, in terms of evacuation, the humanitarian corridor was secured, and Nigerians moved. So the videos that you are referring to were the old ones. Okay. As of now, there is no Nigerian students who was in that school or in that community that has not been evacuated.
Okay, Honorable Abu Rahman Terab, are you concurring with his submission, based on the evacuation, the successful evacuation of all Nigerians, being head of Transfer and Innovation Nigerians in Diaspora Commission? Are you working, in tandem, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to ensure that no Nigerian who wishes to be returned to Nigeria is still back in Ukraine? Because from what he had said, it does mean that perhaps there's no Nigerian wishing to return that was left behind.
I concur very well with what he said. Of course, they are our parent ministry, and we've been working hand in hand with them. But of course, I think he actually said there's no Nigerian that has actually shown the intention to leave that has not been evacuated. And I think that is clear. And he also made mention of the humanitarian corridor that is being worked on for Kherson, so that they can eventually also leave. So I think that's clear, very well. I mean, concur.
But I've heard from some students, it could be old story, so to speak, that some are still saying that some of their friends are yet to be evacuated, that some are stuck in Kiev, because the students are actually in different cities, universities in different cities. Is there any truth in that? Because some are still believing that their friends, they have no connection any longer with their friends who were in the same school. So how does that explain that no Nigerian that wish to return has not been able to return?
Usually before now, at the very beginning, they have a way of reaching out to us in situations where they are in distress. I want to say categorically that ever since these operations have taken place, no one has actually reached out to us. So which means the window of reaching out to us has always been there. And so far, so good. I think we believe, especially those that are from central to western Ukraine, including those from Sumy, which is extreme eastern Ukraine, have, to the best of my knowledge, been evacuated, and just like Ambassador Balaji said.
Okay, we'll return to you, Tara, presently. But let's bring in Chinyere Onyekwere. Mrs. Onyekwere, of course, you are a clinical psychologist, and the point is always made by those who are analyzing conflict situations that war is an ugly business. The ugliness is in all ramifications. And here we've raised the question or concerns about trauma by those who were evacuated. Unfortunately, one of them has passed on, a young man who was in his final year, studied medicine in Ukraine. He was from Sokoto State. How does this affect the human being? Just tell us from a psychological point of view. First of all, I mean, having to get out of the conflict zone. Some of them trekked for several hours, if not a couple of days. And of course, some of them also faced racial discrimination at the time they were trying to get out of harm's way.
Thank you. I think, trauma is one of those things that we tend to experience when we go through events or activities that we find quite overwhelming, things that could threaten our lives, things that could cause us serious injury. And it's very important to even note that trauma, you don't have to experience it directly to actually be traumatized by an event. It could be an information that was shared or something you've seen. But with regards to the students, we know that conflict and war can be one of those things that can be very traumatizing. Now, we've seen it in the news and in the media and everything that they've shared, how their experiences have been, like you've outlined. Trauma is one of those things that tends to shake up people's world. Because for the longest time, we have this sense of ownership of our world. We have a sense of control. But when we experience something that is quite traumatic, one of the things that it does to us is that it changes the way we see the world. It changes the way we feel like we have control over ourselves and the things that happen to us. It can give us negative experiences, and it can give us quite severe negative emotional experiences. So we can get very irritable, we can get very angry, we can get very confused, and we can have some sense of overwhelming stress. So when you're having that going on with you every single day, you find that you were not even able to work within a society, even when you are out of the place. So I can imagine what is going on with the students. I can just think and empathize with them. And even hearing that one of them passed on can be quite a shock experience for a lot of people, because this is new. And this is not just a new good thing; it's a new event that actually has quite a negative experience. So for a lot of people, I will not be surprised if we did some form of assessment and we saw that there was quite a lot of traumatic experiences that they're going through at the moment.
Now, what would you be suggesting to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and, of course, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission to do to this effect? Now, because most of those students, in short, all the students have been adversely affected, especially when it comes to their educational aspirations. Is there any measure that can be taken to see how these students who are already traumatized can be managed?
I think I'll start off by saying it's good to hear the efforts of the federal government and the efforts that they're making in trying to ensure the safety of Nigerian students and the Nigerians that are living in Ukraine. One of the first things that we always ensure in area of conflict or area of violence is safety. And the fact that they're being moved out of this place that is already a huge trigger is one step to, to getting them into a better mental health. And the other thing is also about partnering with organizations to provide a mental health support for these people once they come out. For some people, truth be told, once they come out of a space that they find to be quite traumatizing, they tend to settle in well, depending on the support they have from family and friends. And for other people, they may suffer a little bit more, even when they have that cushion. So it's also important to provide that mental health support to get them back to some sense of stability, to get them back to some place where they're able to function the way they used to. Because for a lot of people, for these young minds that have gone there to go and to build their capacity and to build their careers, they never saw this happening. And so for a lot of them, this is quite a shock that can actually define the way they see the world, define their lives going forward. So if we step in now to offer this support, we're also able to step in and offer a buffer to help them live a healthy and a better life.
Well, I want to stay with you, Chinyere. That's a point that you made in your first response, that what has happened is persons who thought that they had the control over their affairs suddenly lost that control. Mm-hmm. What does that do to an individual?
I think for every one of us, maybe we should just pause and imagine it happened to us. You wake up thinking one day I can get up, It's a very peaceful environment. Nothing, I'll enter my car, I'll go this, I'll do this, I will do that. And suddenly you feel stopped. All of a sudden, everything that you know that you can do, you're unable to do it anymore because someone has come in and has taken a lot of control over you. You feel very helpless. You feel like, so what is there to do? And because for the longest of time, we know that we have this sense of autonomy where we can get up and do what we want to do. But when it's forcefully taken away from you, it's very confusing, it's very scary, it's stressful because you don't even realize what again happens to you if you can't get up and do the things that you want to do, even as small as getting yourself a cup of water to drink. Then what happens? You begin to question yourself and you begin to question life. And sometimes you're like, what is the purpose if I can't do some of the things that I want to do? And this is usually a theme for people who experience trauma, and that loss of control, that loss of sense of feeling like the world is not what we know that sometimes things can change, but when it's in your face, when it's life-threatening, when it's threatening of a serious injury, the experience is a whole lot different.
Okay.
Kieran, you know what Chinere is talking about? I mean, warmongers who haven't experienced the consequences of war may not realize this. People may have mansions, you may have all kinds of luxuries, whether vehicles or otherwise. Well, we have to ask ourselves that question: how many of those houses have been moved from the war zone, and how many of those luxury cars have been moved? So that sometimes when some persons utter incendiary language, inflammatory words to say, it's as if anything can happen. War is not by AK-47 alone.
No,
Kieran?
in fact, if you watch what is happening in Ukraine, you tend to appreciate what war is all about. So for those who are fanning the ember of war, should really understand that. And from what Echinye has just told us, you can imagine what a student who is in final year medicine, all of a sudden, lost everything, lost the school may have been bombarded. Now he doesn't even know where to start. Now they are back home. How do they even start again to pick up the pieces in terms of getting admission into institutions of higher learning in Nigeria for them to complete their education? Those who have moved from Ukraine to other parts of Europe, of course, are also experiencing the same trauma. Let me take us back a little bit because there's a person our producer sent in, about 2 weeks ago. I can't remember the last time that you evacuated Nigerians. I don't know whether it's over 2 weeks ago, isn't it?
No, it's just Monday, the 12th of March.
Okay, 12th of March. All right. Maybe the question is not valid any longer because he's saying that there's one Fatima Halilu, who was said to have told the BBC, that some of her friends had still left behind in Kiev, and they seemed to be confused or lost or something. Was there? Did you hear anything of that nature? Because what I want to get at is the fact that, look, yes, you have told us that no Nigerian is left behind in Ukraine who wishes to return left in Ukraine, because this is a war situation, and when things happen in a war situation, people run helter-skelter, there's confusion everywhere and all of that. So could there still be Nigerians in Kyiv, especially because Kyiv was safe before 3 days ago the bombardment started in that city? Yeah.
Well, let me start by saying our condolences to the family of Mudaj, the family in Sokoto that lost their son, and also to say that to all evacuees or returnees that they should please, wherever they are, do a checkup. Thanks to Dr. Chinyere, who has rightly analyzed this. Trauma is the leading cause of death all over the world. And because of internal injury and some of it is you cannot see with your physical eye. And this is probably why we also took the dimension we took in the evacuation. You will see we went there personally, not because we are the pilot or that there are no people on ground, but because we want to empathize with them. We also find a way to psychologically boost their morale. In the clip you played, you saw my very good self with this student holding Nigerian flag, singing our old anthem. It's not that we don't know the new one. Something led to that. Because they were in a pensive mood, they didn't know what to do. And we had to psych them up. We had to get them out of that mood. Those things brought life back to them. and they were willing now to return. Now, you saw that we are receiving them each time the flight land, even right there on board. If you see them before we start talking to them, they won't be talking, they're just looking because they are helpless. They don't even know the next step. Somebody has to speak to them. And that's why we even thank MTN for that airtime of 19,500, because with that, they were able to reach out to their family. You know, once you get out of the arrival hall, you don't have Wi-Fi again. And with that, they were able. So every agency has been able to play a part to bring down the tension. And we also called on private sector. I'm happy that our consultant here has also requested that they should work with NGO and all that. So all sector, including health, should please do this. We did COVID tests for them, but from what we are getting now, we need to go a little bit more than that. But you see, this trauma is not only for returnees alone, even their parents. You know, because a lot of people put resources together to send those children. And one of the reasons why many of them have not returned, and they are all over Europe now, is because they are just wondering, will I get visa back? Will I be able to continue my education? And let me say this, that now we have started education support desk in our missions in that theater, you know, whereby digitally, online, we are reaching out to this and they can reach out. Like I said the last time, there is a hotline which has been provided, and including my line. My line works 24 hours now for Nigerians and for these students in particular, just to be reassured that, look, this is not the end of your life. And I must commend the European countries. They have actually, till 2 days ago, they still met with the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, offering their support for these students to continue their education. We have received offer from different, even some of them are not even, they are giving 1 year free tuition for those who want to go to those countries. So this is going to be a process. You know, we have to send in their information and all of that for them to process it. So we are using this opportunity again to call on parents and the students to please contact us. Contact us, but many of them have also found their ways, they have found their level. You know, some of them probably have even gotten admission elsewhere. So it's different situation with different people.
Now, does the education support desk, is it extended to Nigeria here? Because most of the students are now back home in Nigeria. Is there any provision, you know, to ensure that they are admitted in Nigeria by some institutions of
Yeah, the education support desk is in consular, in foreign affairs. That has always been there. But we are talking now about missions because they are the one relating with those countries. So there's now education support desk specifically because of this war situation in Ukraine.
I'm talking about, sorry, I'm talking about admitting students who have returned from Ukraine. Who have
back
not
to Nigerian University.
Nigeria, exactly.
Oh, that we have not taught because
ASU is on strike.
ASU is on strike. Not just that, and you know, we have our own admission process. It has to go through.
Would they start going to take JAMB again and all of that?
No, they might not take JAMB. I think we have to speak to NUC here. Because this is not just a decision for foreign affairs. Yeah. But see, the system in some of these countries are more advanced that you can get into their school at any semester and not just at the beginning of a session that we do in Nigeria. I think it's only Base University that you can enter at any semester. They have 3 semesters. But in most universities in Nigeria, you have to get in at the beginning of the session. But for some of these universities, you can come in even in the middle of semester.
All right, very important issue that you have raised there. And that's Honorable Terab. What's the Diaspora Commission also picking up from the various NIDO organizations that you have in the countries in and around there? I mean, there was a time when it was like a crisis situation before the evacuations started. What are we hearing now from the NIDOs in Europe?
Thank you very much. We just last night we had a very extended discussions with them. I would also like to use this opportunity to really commend the efforts of all Nigerians who are living in these countries, and specifically needy organizations which have actually mobilized. Some of them have to leave their places of work in different countries to get to the crisis zones, to help evacuate Nigerians in the borders, and also to provide all the necessary support that they can. As a matter of fact, some of them are in the front line trying to find alternative educational, places for most of these students that have now left their studies in Ukraine. Just yesterday, one of the needy organizations, I think, has got in touch with some universities. About 20 slots were provided for Nigerians. They are going to officially communicate to us so that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Nigerian government will take a look at that and see how we can extend this kind of gestures from other, getting this kind of gestures from other universities as well. So the NEED organization on its own has yesterday urged its members to go around universities in some of these countries that are neighboring Ukraine so that we can get such offers. And then I believe that is the beginning, or that's the way to go at the moment. One of the major challenges we are facing are issues of transcripts. Some of the universities that have even offered to reaccommodate our students are asking for transcripts, which of course we should know that it's not available at the moment. So we are only urging all that are concerned to be a bit patient, because it's a force majeure situation. It means it will take a bit of a time to do that. But we believe that, of course, just like Ambassador Bolaji said, with the technology that is in place, we believe they should have some cloud records that can be accessed. But of course, where is the sense to do that in the situation they are in now? You should understand that almost everybody above 18 is in the fighting range in Ukraine. So you might not really get the managers or administrators of these schools to help to provide the necessary information at the moment immediately. But I believe eventually it will be found.
Yeah, because there's a martial law, in Ukraine. Every 18 years after
Conscription.
conscription, everybody is now a soldier. Chinyere, we're running out of time, but I'd like you to address this. Would you subscribe to any kind of psychological therapy, for these students? Would your foundation provide any kind of succor for these students, assuming some of them, would like to be, managed by your foundation? Is it a possibility to assemble them and, of course, try to talk to them and, provide some solutions with respect to ensuring that they are back home finally and they can now refocus, their destiny?
Thank you. The bulk of the work we do at NIM Foundation is generally trauma support. We do that here in Nigeria, and we'll be more than happy to extend the services to the Nigerian students that are returning, even their parents, because sometimes we also forget the caregivers who are also experiencing, like I said earlier, trauma is not always experienced directly. It can also be indirect. So like the caregivers and the family members who are also experiencing this same negative emotions as their loved ones, we will be more than happy to provide the services to them.
All right, Tarab?
Yes, it's important to note that in the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, we've already made such arrangements available. If you go to our website, it's going to take you to a point where you can register. At the moment, about 25 people have registered who have returned for the trauma support. So we believe that when we have a sizable number, we will engage as many professionals as possible to come and provide these trauma therapy services to the returnees.
Let me add something.
Yeah, Ambassador, very
The
quickly.
issue of trauma is international matter, like I said, and a lot can also be gotten online, because we've seen these students and they've gone very wide apart in Nigeria, very far away. And so we have considered this together, and as much as we would like to gather them together, but we like to do this also online with them. So either by telephone or by directing them to sites where they can follow and they can actually administer these on themselves.
Okay.
But
All right.
Nigeria is also a praying nation. We've seen a lot of spiritual activities trying to encourage people.
Well, yeah, we do hope that some of those things don't turn into commercial redemption activities. Well, Ambassador Bolaji Akinremi, Director, Consular and Legal, Minister of Foreign Affairs, would like to thank you for being our guest this morning.
Thank you so much.
And you look very well rested now, unlike when you were at the airport.
We are still in the trenches.
Yes. Okay. Clinical psychologist, NIM Foundation, Chinyere Ugo Udensi Onyekwere, would like to thank you for being our guest this morning.
Thank you for having
And
me.
congratulations, congratulations. I'm sure a number of our viewers would not know why I'm saying congratulations. Honorable Abdulrahman Terab of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, well, thank you for being our guest this morning.
Thank you for having us this morning.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria live on NTA's network service. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with our second topic, which is on cyber safety.
Thank you for the rejections that taught me to keep striving. Thank you for the long hours that taught me discipline. Thank you for the knockdowns that taught me to bounce back, and for the unexpected victories that taught me to never give up. Thank you for making me who I am.
Ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, the construction of a 1.6-kilometer-long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian television